Hey guys, my name is Kirby. This video is going to be a lot different than the other content that I put out here on this platform and just out there on the internet in general. I still haven't decided if I'm actually going to be posting this or not. So if you're watching this, I guess I decided to put it out there. So today I wanted to sit down and have a very candid conversation about my decision to stop drinking alcohol. One of the reasons why I wanted to sit down and have a chat with you specifically, if you're watching this because you are looking up NA content, you're looking up sober content, I wanted to sit down and have this conversation because videos like this right here and having these conversations were what helped me to become 6 months alcohol free. Yesterday was my 6-month anniversary and I was really proud of myself. And it got me thinking a lot about what I had done to get to that point, how much effort it took, and how many other people and other creators, other podcasters, celebrities, friends, family, how many people I had to connect with and how many other stories I had to hear in order to get me to that 6-month mark. And I don't know, it's to me, it was really helpful on my journey to see other people, other creators of all different shapes and sizes, right? Like an alcoholic comes in every kind of person imaginable. And so I think having more people talk about it and destigmatizing being an alcoholic and becoming addicted to a highly addicted substance, hearing more people talk about it and hearing about their stories and how you could relate, hearing their tips and tricks was invaluable on my journey. And so if you're watching this right now, I hope that this video can do something for you to help you on your journey. Okay, so I didn't script this. If you watch my normal content, everything is scripted. I talk very differently. This is like not the most fun topic to talk about, obviously, but it's really important. I didn't script anything, but I do just have some notes just to keep me guided along the way. So if you see me glance down, just looking at my notes. Okay, so I want to start with when I realized that I had a drinking problem. And I just want to start with as well, like I didn't personally have a rock bottom. And I don't think that you need to have a rock bottom in order to decide to stop drinking. For me, I realized probably about 3 years ago, so I was 27 at the time, which a lot of you may think is young. I thought it was really young, like how lame is that, right? That you're in your 20s and you have to stop drinking. At least that was my mindset before. But while you're on this journey, I think you'll find that there's a lot of people who figured this out pretty young, and other people who by the time they're 27 already have, 5 years of sobriety under their belt. So there's no such thing as too young or too old to decide to stop drinking. And there's, in my opinion, you don't have to reach a rock bottom in order to decide to change your life. For me, to this day, I still have a lot of people, a lot of friends, a lot of really close family members that don't think I fit the criteria of an alcoholic. And so if that's you and maybe you've expressed concerns to people, which is what happened to me 3 years ago, I expressed concerns to a certain person that I thought I might be addicted to alcohol. And it kind of came not out of nowhere, but when you're addicted to a substance like this, you do everything in your power to trick yourself into thinking you're not addicted, which is really easy when it's something as widely consumed and widely glorified as alcohol. For me in particular, at my place of work, we literally had alcohol for us to consume just in the fridge. So when I got in at 8 a.m. and I put my lunch and my snacks in the fridge, I would open it up and there would literally be a hard seltzer staring me in the face at 8 a.m. Now, I personally did not drink in the mornings on a work day. Obviously, a, boozy brunch on the weekends. Obviously, on vacation, pretty much drunk 24/7. But during the work week, I was able to like buckle it up and not drink during the day. Sorry, I'm gonna be a little squirrely in this video because I'm just saying what comes to mind. But it was 3 years ago. I expressed concerns to this one person, and I really valued their opinion. And they came from such a loving place. They came from a great place, but they said to me that they don't think I have a problem. And that definitely set me back because it allowed me to think, oh, maybe I don't have a problem. Like, if this person doesn't think I have a problem, then maybe I'm just overthinking it. But the problem is that I wasn't overthinking it, and I, at that point in time, was considered an extremely heavy drinker. I was consuming about 5 to 6 drinks per night, about 6 nights a week. So let's say, and that's not including like going crazy on the weekends or anything. So on a light week, I'm consuming 36 drinks as a, relatively young female. That's an extremely heavy drinker. But in my mind, and I think in a lot of other people's minds, I was able to hold down a full-time job. I was able to get everything done that I needed to, right? I was able to drive without drinking. I was able to keep making our mortgage payments. Like, from the outside and even from the inside, everything was somewhat manageable. It was in here that I knew something needed to change. Those 3 a.m. anxiety wake-ups where you wake up sweating. I remember waking up for the past probably 3 years before I decided to really quit, so dehydrated, I would have to fall asleep with a giant glass of water or like a seltzer water next to the bed because I would wake up at 3 a.m. I'd be so dehydrated, and then I would just chug the whole thing, and then really not get much sleep until I had to wake up in the morning. It wasn't fun. Wasn't a fun time. So if you're doing the math, this was 3 years ago, right, that I kind of realized I had a problem, and I've been sober for 6 months. So there's about 2.5-year gap where I tried to moderate. And I think when you're addicted to a substance and you try to moderate that substance, if you were ever not sure that you were addicted, when you try to moderate and you cannot, that's when you find out that you are truly addicted. And again, I really tried to make so many rules for myself. I would only, drink Thursdays through Sundays. I would only drink 1 drink on the weeknights. Just a bunch of random rules. None of them ever worked. It always made me even more hyper aware of other people that were drinking and how much I wasn't allowed to drink. And it was just a nightmare. So that was about 2 years of me on and off again, trying to moderate, knowing in the back of my head that I had a problem, but not wanting to fix anything. I knew that if I was going to fix the problem, I was going to have to go all in on fixing that problem, and I didn't want to. I just didn't care at that point. At that point, I was like, you know what? I'm still pretty young. Like, I look fit. People really don't notice, obviously, that there's a problem going on. They just think when I go hard, I go hard. And so that was kind of my mindset for 2 years, just really drinking heavy. And yeah, just kind of slowly going down the drain, right? Like slowly letting the life drain from my eyes. There were a lot of things I wanted to do, a lot of hobbies I wanted to start, a lot of businesses I wanted to pursue, and I just didn't have the energy or the time. Like, that's another thing. When you're drinking every single night, like, you're wasting so much time. It's just crazy to look back and think how many hours I wasted every week that I don't remember. I don't remember a lot of those hours that I spent drinking. There's a lot of movies that I've watched in the past 6 months that technically I've watched several times before, and I don't remember a single thing. So I've been getting to rewatch a lot of movies that I've already previously seen. Same thing with books, funnily enough. I would try to read while I'm on my 4th glass of wine, which would inevitably end in lots of red-soaked things. Shirts, couches, books, pillows. Don't have to deal with that anymore, thank God. I also just wanted to quickly, I don't know if I'm going to keep this in or not, but your stereotypical alcoholic, right? Drinking sun up to sundown, which I do thoroughly believe I was on the way to doing, right? Because I knew going through the detox process, I wasn't sure beforehand, but once I went through my 2-week detox process, I knew that I was physically addicted. And once you're physically addicted like that, it's only going to ramp up. Now, how long it takes, it could take a long time, but I'm in my 20s. I was in my 20s at that time. I still had decades of drinking to go. So if I had continued to drink, there's no doubt in my mind I would have become a morning drinker at some point, which is, again, why I don't think you'd have to hit rock bottom. I had a mindset shift, which I still don't really know, like, when it happened or what made it click, but it did, and that made all the difference. Oh, but what I wanted to say was your stereotypical drinker, right? Drink sun up to sundown. They have terrible hangovers. I literally never had hangovers unless I had a really, really, really heavy drinking night, which for me would be like, I don't know, 20 shots, like something crazy. Not literally. I probably would have ended up in the hospital. But unless it was like an exceptionally crazy night, I never had hangovers. I could drink 2 bottles of wine and wake up perfectly fine, quote unquote, the next morning. Go for a run, probably. Which again, I think is why people didn't think that I had become addicted. So about a little over a year ago, it was December of 2024. No, December of 2023. So a little over a year ago was December 2023. I hadn't really had that mind shift set yet, but I really wanted to try to quit alcohol. Whenever I'd think into the future of like my kids' weddings, like, and still in the back of my mind, I was like, I could probably have a glass of champagne, like, you know, a 20-year wedding anniversary. Of course, I'll have 1 glass of wine. So I hadn't quite had the right mindset shift yet, but it was December 2023. I decided I wanted to quit for good. And I did get 3 months in. I got a 3-month window in, which at that point, I was 29 years old. I was 29 years old at that point. I had not gone that long without drinking since I was 17. So it was over a decade that I had not gone that long without drinking. I felt so good. I felt like so much more energized. I felt great. And for whatever reason, I was sitting on the couch one day feeling wonderful. Nothing bad had happened. I was feeling actually pretty optimistic. And I thought to myself, I would like a glass of wine. And so I immediately had 6 glasses that night. I think that was also a big thing for me to realize that even though I had taken off 3 months from drinking, as soon as I had that first sip of wine, which tasted terrible, by the way, like by the end of my drinking, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, wine tasted terrible in my mouth, but I still had to drink it. Wine was my my drink of choice. All of it. All of it tasted terrible. You give me a wonderful glass of wine that, before I'd become addicted, I would have liked the taste of. Terrible. Everything just tasted like shit. I don't know why. If anyone else knows, like, what's up with that. I haven't really heard too many people talk about that. Maybe it was just me. But yeah, I went right back to being able to throw back a bottle and a half, like no problem. Woke up the next morning, no hangover. And basically just went straight into my old drinking ways. Continued that for another, call it 4 months. And somewhere within those 4 months, I think it was a couple weeks before I officially quit, I realized, I don't know, I had the mindset shift. Something switched where I just realized I never want to feel like this again. And when I quit, I'm quitting for good. I don't want the glass of champagne at my children's wedding. I don't want the one glass of wine at my wedding anniversary, because it's never going to just be that. It's never going to just be that. And I think, not that relapsing is a good thing, but I think I did have to realize that I was just going to fall straight into my bad habits again, and that my brain has been like permanently rewired from drinking for so long. And the only way to not fall back into those habits is to never drink alcohol again. And I came to peace with that, and I continued to drink for like 2 weeks. And then one day I was just like, all right, today's the day. Today I'm not drinking any more alcohol. Not even tomorrow. I woke up and I was like, today is the day. And I haven't drinking since then. And I'm really proud of myself. I'm going to list off a couple of things that helped me. I'm not going to go into like a whole tips and tricks thing, because I don't know, I feel like maybe I can do that in a different episode if you guys would be interested. But I think hearing other people's tips and tricks is always helpful. When I got sober the first time for that 3-month stint, like I said, those first 2 weeks, I didn't go to work at that point. I had quit my office job, actually. There's a lot of reasons for that, but partially was the drinking culture. So I didn't have to go into work, and I kind of told my husband, like, hey, I'm going to be out of commission for a few days. It ended up being 2 weeks. It was a full 2-week laying in bed, probably sleeping about 16 hours at a time, emotionally a wreck. If I was not sleeping, then I was crying. It was horrible. I felt like I was physically ill. It felt like the flu, honestly. And like I said, that's when I realized, like, oh shit, I am actually physically dependent on this stuff. This is not good. Luckily, I didn't have to go to the hospital or anything. I was able to just manage everything here. And I would say after about 10 days, it took a full 10 days before I started feeling well enough to put on clothes, take a shower, and leave the house. I don't think I left the house for 10 days. It was not pretty. So just be aware of that. But within those first 2 weeks, within that first month, I would say, I really, really, really focused on watching sober content, non-alcohol content. If you've ever seen or heard Dr. Huberman's alcohol episode, I probably watched that about 6 times, and it's like a 2-hour long episode. It's amazing. I was just thinking I need to go back and re-listen to that now, because I think I'll have a lot more perspective and a lot more appreciation for a lot of it. But it kind of scares the shit out of you. Basically just talking from a doctor's perspective, from a physical perspective, from the studies done, how terrible alcohol is for everyone, not just alcoholics. Like, it is really bad for every human being. And part of my sober journey at least has been, I pass absolutely no judgment on anybody else. who drinks or doesn't drink. Like, I literally don't care. That's not part of my journey. I'm not going to be preaching anything to anyone. This is literally just for people who are actively seeking out sober content and alcohol-free content. But content like that's really good. So I would watch that a lot. I would find other YouTube videos. YouTube videos are a huge thing because I would have to hold my phone physically, right? And then I'd be watching them. I could connect with them. And I made a playlist on YouTube so that if I saw any interesting videos, even semi-interesting, I would add them to this playlist. I think I called it like alcohol free. And then anytime I felt like I wanted to drink, or anytime I felt like really anxious or really emotional, I would just start watching. I would just start binge watching all of those videos, and it really helped to just like calm me down and think about things, and just bring me back to the purpose of why I'm feeling like shit, right? Drinking is not going to help me. So yeah, the alcohol episode from Dr. Huberman, even if you've listened to it before, like go back and re-listen to it. It's so good. After I was able to actually get out of bed, I know everyone says this, and everyone says this for a fucking reason. Go take a long walk. I don't know what it is. I think it's a combination of the physical exercise, the being outside in nature, and like seeing not the four walls of your apartment. And then what I would do is I would put on a sober podcast or a sober audiobook. I also listened to a ton of audiobooks just because it was nice to hear kind of like a longer story, especially the memoirs. I really loved the memoirs. And kind of hear the same person talking and just hear about like their whole story, and everyone's story is so different, which is again just helpful for me to hear all these different people in all different phases of life going through similar things and feeling similar ways and making it out at the end, right? So going for long walks, and when I say long walks, like I might go for a 20-minute walk, I might go for a 2.5-hour walk. Like it just depends on how much energy I need to burn. So don't be afraid to do that. Now, people either love this or hate this, but there are non-alcoholic options. Now you can do things like seltzer waters. For me personally, at least in the beginning, non-alcoholic wine, as shitty as it was so helpful, because if I really had a craving, I would just go have a glass of that, and it tasted so terrible that I wouldn't want to drink it anymore after a glass. And then I would, go to a seltzer water, or I would also had a really big sweet tooth, just because I think this is a typical thing after you stop drinking. There's like a sugar deficit, depending on what you're drinking. For me, again, wine, lots of sugar in there. I had a huge sweet tooth. So I would reward myself for not drinking by having like a brownie sundae or a milkshake or just something like that. Also keeping my hands busy. So I took up knitting and crocheting, which was so much fun, but it also required like my attention. So I'd have to be watching like a YouTube video. I'd be using both of my hands. It would take a long time. That was a really, really great hobby for me to pick up, because it was requiring me to like use my knowledge, use my intellect, use both of my hands. Like there's physically no way I could be doing everything and then also like drinking at the same time. So going for a long walk and then coming back home to start knitting was like all I did for 3 months last year, basically. And then this is kind of the stupid one, but just removing triggers. So for me, I don't know why this was such a trigger, but I was watching Bob's Burgers of all things, and Linda, the mom, had a glass of red wine in her hand, and I had to stop the episode because I think it was just like a cold winter month and I was bored, and I was watching it and I was like, oh, that glass of red wine would just be perfect right now. But I had the wherewithal to like think of the thought and think that's stupid. She's a cartoon character. Turned off the episode and instead pulled up YouTube and started watching one of the videos off of my playlist, and was able to, successfully divert that for the time being. there's so much more I could talk about, honestly, but I feel like I've been rambling for a bit. So again, if you're watching this, I hope this was somewhat helpful. If you want more like tips and tricks, if you want like some of the podcasters, I'll put a bunch of links down below, but just of specific things that helped me. But I would be so happy to go over like books that were helpful, podcasts that were helpful, influencers. Following sober influencers has been a game changer for me. There's this one girl in particular, Eat Elizabeth, and she's a runner, and she posts like really cute outfits, and then she also throws in, hey, and I'm 2.5 years sober. And I fucking love that. Like, that just gives me so much hope and inspiration, honestly. It's just really inspirational. So if you're watching this, know you're not alone, and whatever point you're on in your journey, someone else has been there. Lots of someone else have been there. And there's still hope for you. And you shouldn't give up. And you can always start right now. Like, you can literally start right now if you wanted to. So I'm sending a lot of love. Let me know if you want me to talk about anything else. If you're still feeling down, go for a walk. Go find an audiobook to listen to. If you're feeling really antsy, go for a walk, put in your headphones, and listen to the Dr. Huberman alcohol episode right now, okay? Okay. Giving you a virtual hug.